part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Chase Smith, founder and CEO of Press Play Podcast. You may have heard me on the Oranges Oranger Cleveland Browns podcast with Jeremy Powell, now wonderfully hosted by Holly Wetzel, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast with Sam Amico, or my own podcast, the Chase Smith Podcast. I wanted to take a few moments to talk to you about a brand new subscription-based podcast we're offering this football season, the Press Play Sports Podcast. This premium podcast feed will send all of the sports podcasts offered on the Press Play Podcast Network to one central feed. Yes, you can still follow and subscribe to all of our individual shows for free on every podcast platform. But if you wanted to consolidate your podcast feed and listen to them all in one location, the Press Play Sports Podcast is for you. I'm talking the Oranges and Oranger Browns podcast with Holly Wetzel and Jeremy Powell, Reghi and Roda, Sable Brothers on the Baseline, Cavs on the Break, the Dennis Maniloff Show, the Ball Card Show, the Premium Fantasy Podcast, a Swing and a Tribe MLB podcast, and the Tim and Shipe Show, a college football podcast, all in one feed. All 9 of our sports shows curated into one single podcast feed. Out the door, you're looking at $5.36 a month after tax. That's $5.36, just about the cost of a drink at Starbucks. And this is only offered on Apple Podcasts. You can't get this anywhere else. It's an Apple Podcast exclusive. Just go to the search bar and search Press Play Sports. It'll come up and you can subscribe from there. We're excited to offer this consolidated, curated sports feed for you to enjoy. And as always, thank you so much for listening and your support.
And welcome to another edition of the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Kenny Roda alongside Michael Reghi, getting ready to break down the Browns' big win over the Texans, 31-21. But before we do that, we say thank you to Dave Emmert, our outstanding producer, who walks Two Old Men Through podcast to make sure we're able to bring it to you in the podcatosphere. And Michael Reghi, Brownies last week, a tough loss on the road at Kansas City, could not finish. This week, got more than I think they expected from the Houston Texans, but they were able to finish, maybe thanks to the Texans being down to their third-string quarterback. But as you know, a win is a win is a win. And anytime it's your first win in the NFL in a season, it's a good one, right?
Oh, no question about it, Ken. You got to have it. Had to be the W, whether it was 55-51 or 3-2. It just had to be the W. Didn't really matter. And I got a sense, though, today, and it always kind of, makes me laugh because this is what it is. But, most Browns fans didn't seem like they were happy. They were looking for that 45-10 blowout today. And I never thought for a minute that was going to be the case. That, sure, there's different situation going on quarterbacking-wise with Houston, but a defense that I thought, you know what, maybe they'll hang in there and not let the Browns go wild offensively. And the Browns, as we'll get into, Kenny, they resorted to whom they are and what they are. They run the football and finally took control of the game that way in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I had the Browns. I was one of those, I guess, fans, Reg. I had them winning 35-14. I thought after last week's loss at KC, they'd be pissed. No Deshaun Watson. Tyrod, however you pronounce his name. He was coming back to take on the team he used to quarterback for, even though it was just a few games. And then Baker Mayfield took over for him. I didn't look at a bunch of running backs that are has-beens and cast. The Houston Texans, to me, are like the island of misfit toys from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? A bunch of guys that are just happy on one-year deals to be in the league and maybe try and get another contract, but no studs, no stars to me on that team right now. As J.J. Watt left and Deshaun Watson's got off the field issues. So I was expecting a blowout today, but then again, you look at the Browns defense, and this is only the second game with all of these new guys, new faces in new places, and it looks like it's going to take them a while. Mix in Jarvis Landry going down on the second offensive play of the game with what is termed a MCL injury that will be imaged Monday morning to see the severity of it. And that maybe threw a little wrinkle in Kevin Stefanski's original game plan. And then Baker Mayfield on a pick that wasn't his fault tries to make the tackle and hurts his left shoulder. Baker said it popped out. we popped it back in and I wasn't going to miss a snap. So he wasn't 100% to finish the game. And maybe that forced Stefanski to run the ball in that second half more than he was planning on it. But it was, I think, the right, what's the word I want to use here? The right recipe for success today for the Browns.
There's no question about that. And I have a feeling when times get difficult, or when there are situations that arise that say, well, you can't play a complete football game maybe the way you want to, listen, this is whom the Browns are. As we said, they're going to rely on that offensive line, and they're going to look to shorten the game, Ken, and run the football and take control of it that way. And then hopefully, a lot of the, it seems like a lot of the vitriol today, Browns fans, was pointed toward the defense today, and especially one said defensive coordinator for the way that it looked like in the first half. Get your thoughts on it, too. There were some Texans receivers running free as they completed their routes in the Browns secondary.
Yeah, that secondary is still, like we said, a work in progress. And what they were hoping for was the guys up front applying more pressure.
Right.
So Tyrod Taylor or Sims or Patrick Mahomes or who's ever at quarterback for whoever they're playing doesn't have the time maybe to find those receivers as accurately as they have been so far. So that pressure isn't coming. And therefore that secondary, a rookie and Greg Newsome got beat a few times today, had a pass interference penalty called on him, but made a play late in the game. Grant Delpit playing in his hey, it was just good to see 22 on the field for the Browns at whatever position he was playing out there, and he had a big sack late in the game. Go Tigers, Grant Delpit, go Tigers. Ed Orgeron, happy to see him back out there and everything like that. So, yeah, that defense, Reg, 33 against the Kansas City Chiefs, expected maybe. 21 to the Texans without Tyrod Taylor in the second half and everything. He put up 14 in the first half. So, yeah, there were some moments there where at 24-21, you didn't know how this one was going to go.
Well, Tyrod Taylor, and again, I don't know, maybe he's saying, I'm going to show all of you. You got me out of here after 3 games, me being the starting quarterback. Of course, it was because, it originally began because of an injury. And then, and no looking back. You drafted Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall. But, I mean, Tyrod Taylor, how about 144.3 passer quarterback rating today?
Right.
Hits 10 of 11 for $125 with the touchdown, right? Runs in for a touchdown. And I think that is when Kenny, although there was nothing made of it during the course of the game, I think that's where Taylor came up with the issue with his, whether it was hamstring or whether it was calf, I'm not 100% sure, but something on that where he slowed down as he almost walked into the corner of the end zone. And that's pretty much it for him for the day.
Yeah, they showed a replay, Reg. I was doing my Browns backers trivia at the Jerseys in Canton in Stark County, right? And they showed that where he walked in, but then they also showed him rolling out to his left right before the end of the half, too, and throwing a ball away and pulling up. And we saw him like he was angry. And we're like, well, why is he angry? He just threw the ball away. What's he upset with? What he was upset with was he knew at that point that something was tweaked with his hammy. And sure enough, it kept him out for the rest of the game. Is it Sims? Is that the quarterback's name? Or no, Mills. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mills. I called him Sims earlier. My bad. I didn't even know who the hell he was. From Stanford. Mills comes in at quarterback. And he throws a touchdown pass, but you could see he was a little discombobulated and didn't look prepared for it. So the Browns benefited from that because if Tyrod Taylor plays the entire game, Reg, who knows what this final score might have been.
Yeah, and it was all about, Brandon Cooks as well. They targeted Brandon Cooks between Taylor and Mills 14 times.
Yeah.
Now, he made 9 catches, but listen, again, I mean, that's why Browns fans simmer down now. Yeah, 9 catches for 78 yards. Okay. Right. 8 yards a catch. He had a long at 22, but, he didn't hit anything that turned into chunk plays, explosive plays. So that was the way that the Browns wanted to defend them today. I mean, again, when you look at the bottom line, Houston, 28 carries for 82 yards, 2.9. I mean, listen, you can't complain about that. The thing is, I know you would like to see between Myles Garrett and Javion Clowney and Tack McKinley and maybe even, with linebacker blitzes, maybe there's a couple, 3-4 sacks.
Right.
Or at least some more quarterback hurries. Well, no, there wasn't that today. So, again, it's Kenny. I just in grand scheme, I think that there might be more of these than not for the Browns defense this year. And again, we know. Look, to me, there's no surefire things in the NFL. There just aren't. I mean, Browns roster better than Houston's, right? Yeah, of course it is. But we know. We've seen this thing too long. Most games come down to 10-point game at the most, right? And it's about how you play situationally. And fourth quarter, again, as we'll get to as we go along here today, fourth quarter, that's where the Browns established themselves as we got control of this football game, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the first half play-by-play, Reg. Browns open up. Let's see here. What was it? They punt the ball away on their first possession, right? But the fumble. Hey, see what happens when Jamie Gillen actually catches the ball and punts it? The other team might fumble it if you get the kick away, Jamie.
Yeah.
And they did. And so they took advantage of that fumble, led 7-0. Tyrod comes right back, 7-7. The Browns then fumble. The Texans punt, but then the interception on the slant where Schwartz did not run and finish the route.
No, he didn't.
In my opinion, and that's what caused the interception. He's got to break that pass up.
Absolutely.
Or at least have a collision with the defender, and he was kind of gun shy there.
There was no attempt to go get the football either. I mean, and again, you could say all you want, but folks, you really got to look at plays that go awry. That's not on Baker Mayfield there.
Correct.
He's making the throw where he believes coming out of his route that has worked on over and over. That's where Schwartz is going to be coming out of that route at that amount of yardage. Well, he was nowhere near that. Right. But Mayfield's releasing the football as he is, as he expects him to come out of the route. And I don't know what Schwartz was doing. Rookie thing, I guess. And then, of course, after a 15-yard catch, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I forget which DB that was. He put a hell of a hit on the football. Yeah. I mean, he ran his helmet, formed, boom, helmet football came out. Would you like to say, yeah, DPJ, secure that thing, cover it up? Okay, but again, it's a hell of a good play. He knocked the football out, a real good hit. And so that when the Browns were driving as well. So, but again, to me, these things are going to happen through the course of a 60-minute football game, and you got to be strong enough and be formidable enough to play through them.
Yeah, and what I liked was after the interception, which Baker Mayfield got hurt on trying to make the tackle with his left shoulder, he goes into the tent, into the locker room. Case Keenum's warming up. Baker comes back out, and they're down 14-7 at that point. You're thinking, oh, shoot, down a touchdown to the Texans at home. Case Keenum might be coming in, and I give Baker all
Landry out.
Yeah, Landry out. I give Baker all the credit in the world for coming back out, leads them to a touchdown, ties the game. So you're 14-14 at least, at that point. And you're 14-14, I think it was at halftime, right, Reg?
Yes.
So you're tied at that point. It kind of, exhale a little bit. Then you take control of the third quarter, outscore them 10-0. You go on and get the win. So I thought Baker Mayfield was 19 of 21 for 213, Reg.
Yeah.
The one interception wasn't his fault. So let's say he was 18 of 19 in the game, right? So managing the game today, that's what I need to see from him. I need to see him manage the football game like he did today, make some plays. He did that with his feet today, scored a touchdown himself through a touchdown pass. And we'll get to that a little bit later with Demetric Felton and everything. But I liked what I saw from Baker after a tough finish to last week's game against Kansas City, where he took a lot of the blame, and I thought he deserved it late in that fourth quarter with the pick on that throw last week. But he comes out today and was super efficient and showed his toughness and led them to a victory without OBJ, without Jarvis Landry in there, and they get their first win of the season.
And, too, I think one of the things that, we all love about Baker's approach and who and what he is. Well, I'm not going to play like your typical quarterback. I'm not going to run away from. So would I like – first thing I said, Kenny, Baker, what the hell are you doing trying to make the hit after that
right
pick?
Amen, brother. Amen.
No, Baker, don't do that. But again, Ken, he's a football player. That's not what he is, and maybe they're going to have to coach him up with that. Say, Baker, you know what, just you see the ball being picked because Kenny, he went in like he was playing, will linebacker and launching at a ball carrier, right?
Right. Yeah. You can't do that, man.
No, Baker, but see, again, Baker, yeah, we love your toughness. We love your grittiness. We love the way you're a football player. We got that. But if you go down, you're not helping your football team, man. So, I don't know. It's we'll see. Hope there's not too many more situations like that where we have to be discussing that and see it. But again, like I said, I'm like, oh my God, I turned it back a few times. I said, if I didn't know any better, this guy wearing number 6, he looks like he's a will linebacker trying to come up and just knock the dog out of some ball carrier. Right?
Yeah, now that they're allowed to wear those numbers too on defense, right? So you think, what the hell's going on there? What the hell? What is that? Vince Lombardi? What the hell's going on out there?
Yeah. Launching himself at a ball carrier, trying to just destroy somebody and put a big hit on the guy who picked the football off. Well, again, love your grit, but Baker, man, you stay back there. You be the last guy. And then if it gets to you having to make a hit after that sudden change like that, okay, but we'll see. I don't know. It just was, oh my God, don't get hurt. If you're good. So can you imagine, Kenny, can you imagine? And when it comes to situationally, thank God. But if, Mayfield didn't get drilled by some outside linebacker on a blitz. He tried to drill somebody else like he was an outside linebacker, and that's how he won. Oh, my God, I don't want to be talking about that story, Ken.
Yeah,
not necessary.
I'm thinking, oh, crap. The expectations right down the toilet, and it's Case Keenum's team the rest of the year. I thought he might have broke his collarbone on that play, Reg, but he said it popped out. They popped it back in. Luckily, it's his non-throwing shoulder. I'm sure he'll get imaged tomorrow, too, even though he said no problems, nothing too serious. He and Jarvis will go visit the clinic or university hospital, whoever sponsors them, and we'll see the severity of both of their injuries as they have to get ready for next Sunday's game at home against the Chicago Bears. All right, let's do this, Reg. Let's get a break in. I want to talk more about the second half because one of the things I posed on Twitter, Reg, was can they close this week? Last week, they couldn't close, right? They were up 29-20 in the second half last week, could not close. They were up again 24-14 at one point in the second half. Could they close? We'll get into that. And also, we want to welcome, Reg, to the Reghi and Roda podcast, a new sponsor. And, I should say it's a new sponsor for this podcast, but not a new sponsor for us going back to our days at KNR. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. And Brent Reitz and Northfield Park is jumping on board with us here on the Reghi and Roda podcast. And the Little Brown Jug this Thursday, September 23rd, simulcast from the historic Delaware County Fair. The Little Brown Jug is regarded as one of the jewels in the Triple Crown of harness racing. It is the premier pacing classic for 3-year-olds post time. Post time is 11 a.m. Enter for a free $5 match play from 1 to 2 p.m. at Northfield Park. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. They're on board with us as a sponsor of the Reghi and Roda podcast. We can't be happier, Reg. So
yeah, great to have the Northfield Park gang. As Kenny said, Kenny and I have a relationship with them, and the fact that they wanted to re-up and team with us again here as we're together on the podcast. So Brent and all the gang in Northfield Park, love it. Thanks for having us back with you, and big things, good things going to come for you and for being with us. We promise you that.
Yeah, MGM and Northfield, we'll be telling you all about it in the coming podcast, so make sure you stay tuned for all the great things that they'll be doing. When we come back on the R&R podcast, we're going to dive into that second half. The Browns able to close in week 2, unlike week 1, and get their first win of the season.
Hi, this is Maria Gincola with Mindful MMJ Ohio. Did you know that medical marijuana has been legal in Ohio since 2016? If you have one of 25 qualifying medical conditions, you can obtain your medical marijuana card today. The most common conditions are chronic pain, including migraines and back or joint pain, PTSD, fibromyalgia, spinal cord disease or injury, and cancer. If you or someone you know is interested in learning more or to find out if you qualify, visit mindfulmmjohio.com and fill out the short pre-qualification form. The process of finding a physician, filling out paperwork, obtaining medical records, and scheduling an appointment seems like it would be a daunting process for most. But, lucky for you, Mindful MMJ Ohio will help you every step of the way to make the process quick and easy. In most cases, we can approve a qualified patient within 24 hours. And the visit is virtual, so you don't even have to leave home. So what are you waiting for? Visit mindfulmmjohio.com today. That's mindfulmmjohio.com. Let us help you be more mindful of your health and find a natural way to find relief from your symptoms.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Backed by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, I'm Jason.
And I'm Gary, and we love ball cards.
And if you love ball cards too, good news. You just found your new favorite podcast. From breaks to grading.
And from collecting to flipping, join us on the Ball Card Show.
The sports podcast for the sports collector.
And welcome back to the Reghi and Roda podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network, recapping the Browns' first victory of the season. They get it in week 2 at home against the Houston Texans, 31-21. And Michael Reghi, last week, Browns had a chance to close out the Chiefs on the road, up 9 points in the fourth quarter, 29-20. Get outscored in that fourth quarter. I believe it was 13-0 from that point forward, lose 33-29. So there they were at home again today. No Tyrod Taylor. He's the backup to Deshaun Watson. So this, what's this kid's name? This Mills character from Stanford is coming in off the bench, the third string quarterback. I'm thinking, Brown, I predicted 35-14. The blowout's coming in this fourth quarter. Now, they didn't blow them out, Reg. The game got to within 3 points at 24-21, but as soon as it got to 3 points, the Browns had their most impressive drive, in my opinion, of the season, and it climaxes with Nick Chubb taking it in from 20-plus yards out for the game-clinching touchdown.
That's right. And again, we know this. You and I have talked about it in getting closer to and setting up this football season for the Browns. They're going to look to shorten games in the second half. Yep. They want to get the lead and then absolutely just put it all on the shoulders. Come on. All right, offensive line, this is your time right now with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and that offensive line, and we're going to run the football, and we're going to run the football, and we're going to run the football some more, and that time is going to we're first down, and boy, that game's going to shorten, Kenny. That's the Browns' winning elixir. that's whom they are right now. I mean, a lot of people feel like, you're looking at one of the top 3 offensive lines in the game, one of the top 3 to 5 run games in the league. You got a duo of running backs that's certainly guys that like a lot of carries and like to get lathered up. It's a great way to win, Ken, at any level of football if you have the parts that can do that. And I think the Browns do it. That's exactly what they did. I mean, again today, they run the football 34 times, and between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they get 24 of those. They average 5 yards per tote. As you just talked about, you had the Chubb run to the house for the TD that gave them, that extended the lead. So, hey, listen, Browns fans, you want to see more of that. Again, this is so I want those touchdown passes and the football flying out. You know what? That's not the way Kevin Stefanski, number one, wants to play offense, and he's got the pieces and parts that can do it by, again, shortening the game. And when you're shortening the game and keeping that other offense, Ken, right over on that sideline, that is going to check all the boxes that the Browns want to be successful, period.
Nick Chubb, the closer with the touchdown run. But to me, Reg, the play of the game that proved to be the difference, in my opinion, and every week we know this, in a 1 to 2 score game, there are usually a handful of plays, Reg, that determine the outcome. And for me, the play of the game, the Chubb one closed it, but Demetric Felton, 6th round pick out of where's he from? Is he a UCLA?
UCLA. UCLA Bruin. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So they draft a running, they're loaded at running. We got the best tandem in the National Football League, right? In Kareem Hunt, who they're paying about $6 million a year, and Chubb just got re-upped and everything. He's getting paid $12 million a year. Still, they look at it, they go, you know what? This Felton kid, he's got some wiggle to him. He's got some explosiveness to him. He's got some game-breaking ability to him. Let's take a flyer on him in the 6th round like they did Donovan Peoples-Jones last year. And Demetric Felton today took a little quick screen to the left, shaked and baked, twisted and turned and wiggled and waggled his way into the end zone with a beautiful touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield. I think Baker threw it 1 yard forward and gets credited for a 33-yarder thanks to the elusiveness of Demetric Felton. That's a nice find by them. And to get a rookie impacting the game the way he did today, and it was Schwartz last week, that makes me believe even more in that front office that I was worried about because they were so young coming in there, Andrew Berry and Pauly Analytics and all those guys. But Reg, hey, give those guys credit and give Felton credit for stepping up and making a play when given the opportunity today.
When you have young players, and specifically rookies, and again, ones that weren't highly regarded and drafted in the 1st and 2nd round, Kenny, right? You can have guys like that show up and become almost, immediate weapons that you say, you know what, we got a game plan and find a way. You just said it, and I'm glad you put it that way. Are you going to see a lot of Demetric Felton? Well, no. Kenny just said it. I mean, listen, you've got certainly one of the very best running back tandems in the National Football League. Now, you're not going to take away reps and snaps from Chubb and Hunt. You're just not going to do that. However, Felton, you can put him in the slot because he can catch the football.
Yeah.
And you can find ways, bubble screens, tunnel screens, quick throws, and the result, it could be the very same thing many more times that you saw today. So are you going to see him having 10, 12, 14 touches a game? No, I doubt it. However, he's got the capability, and he brings that wild card to the Browns and what the other team is game planning for defensively, Kenny. I mean, again, you're another team. First thing I'm worried about, we got to find a way. We got to get this Browns run game in control. And that means, what do, Ken? You're putting an extra defender or two in the box.
Yeah.
And now that opens up, especially out beyond at the numbers and beyond. It's opening up things on the edges. And I think this is where I think you're always going to see, though, the Browns, 3-4 times a football game, find a way to get the ball in the hands of Demetric Felton, and maybe it's going to be more in second halves like we saw today. Because all those things you said, yeah, the kid's got it. And when you're the type of kid that, with a missed tackle here and a wiggle there, can take the football to the paint and put points on the board, got to find a way to get him the rock a couple times a game.
Now, I listened to Stefanski's post game. Nobody asked him. I was curious, was Felton in there because Landry was out with an injury? And if so, hey, one guy goes down. What do we always hear? It's the old cliche, right? Next man up. So maybe he benefited from Landry getting hurt and took advantage of his opportunity, or maybe that was in the game plan. Nobody asked. So I don't know, but I loved what I saw there. And to me, that was the play of the game because the Texans actually had the ball to start the second half, Reg. But they were bringing out that Mills dude again, that kid from Stanford as the starting quarterback. Nobody knew Tyrod Taylor was hurt until he took the field. And we were all wondering, what the hell's he doing out there? They just trying to play this young kid because they drafted him or what? We found out Taylor couldn't go the rest of the way. And so they stop, the Texans on their first drive, get the ball back, and then Felton takes it to the house. And they were playing from in front for the rest of that second half at 21-14, and then pushed it, what was it? 21-14. And did they add a field goal to make it? Yeah, added a field goal to make it 24-14, up 10. Right. Then the touchdown pass to Cooks makes it a 3-point game, but then Chubb answers. So those two plays with Felton and Chubb are the ones that stood out for me offensively. And also, before I forget, kudos to Baker Mayfield with a bad wing and everything. Running the ball when he probably shouldn't have run the ball. He could have easily thrown the ball out of bounds a few times, Reg, but he picked up a couple of positive yards. He scores a touchdown on the ground. So, again, not the prettiest win by the Browns, but they were able to close this week, unlike last week, and they got their first win. And what do you know? Through 2 weeks, they're tied for first place in the AFC North because, as I told you, the Steelers' offensive line sucks. Again, they couldn't run the ball worth the damn. Whoever was making the decisions in Pittsburgh thinking, you know what, let's just draft a good running back. That'll make our running game better. Not when you have a crappy offensive line, it won't. And Ben turned it over again today. So Steelers lose at home to the Raiders. The Bears lose Andy Dalton against the Bengals. Justin Fields comes in, doesn't play great, but they win by 3. So you got the Browns tied with the Steelers and Bengals at least. And if the Ravens win, everybody's tied. If the Ravens lose tonight against Kansas City, they're in last place at 0-2. So after 2 weeks, all is well, I guess.
Yeah, well, things are also in the division are in addition to the Browns, even up with the win today at 1-1. Yeah, as Kenny said, things are assisting here. Week 2, I'm not too worried about that right now. Real tough day for Joe Burrow today. He threw 3 picks. And so we'll see where that goes. And you always wonder, is it somewhat still not completely recovered and healthy as of yet for Burrow? But hey, look, the NFL, as we know, Kenny, it is a damn forgiving league, man. You're going to put people out there that, hey, everybody says, well, everybody's hurt. Everybody has injuries and will be more so as the year goes on. But we'll see where all of that goes. But for the time being, again, I would hope you Browns fans just no, it's not going to be 45-17 and real pretty offensively every week and a shutdown performance from the Browns defense and every facet. No, that's just not what the NFL is. And so, okay, they get win number 1 on the year with this kind of performance. That there were some things that they got to get back at and try to clean up and go to work on. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and when you look at the division, I thought it was going to be a 2-team race between the Ravens and the Browns, to begin with. So we'll see where this goes. Ravens are banged up. Browns are a little bit banged up.
It could be 0-2 in about 4 hours after this Sunday evening, too. They could be. Yeah. That's going to be very interesting. Kansas City going into Crab Cake City tonight, and Ravens need that. Nobody wants to be 0-2 to start out in the NFL. We know what historically those numbers suggest when you start 0-2. It's usually not pretty for you. So we'll see how the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh's team responds tonight.
Yeah, and last year I think they played 34-20 was the final. The Chiefs got the win over Baltimore. So we'll see what happens tonight. So at least worst case scenario, all four teams are tied at 1-1 in the AFC North after 2 weeks, and you go from there. We'll see if OBJ comes back now, because if it is an MCL sprain for Jarvis Landry and he's getting imaged again tomorrow, he could miss some time. And you lose one LSU receiver while you're getting the other LSU receiver back. So it'd be nice to see the offense complete and whole. And already, Reg, even without OBJ and this offense being whole, let's see here. I wrote it down. My math on this, they're averaging 30 points a game on offense, giving up 27 on defense so far. And we were thinking that defense was going to be improved this year with Joe Woods supposedly getting the pieces parts. Give it a few more weeks. I'm not ready to push the panic button like I did with Ohio State and Kerry Coombs and everything like that. And I thought they made the right move, moving him away from the play calling there. I'm not ready to do that with Joe Woods, but a couple of more weeks, Joe, with these pieces, parts that they got you in the offseason, and Grant Delpit healthy, and Newsome out there with a few more games under his belt, and Denzel Ward healthy, Malcolm Smith with a pick, an interception filling in for Walker today. I'll give him to about week 5, Reg, and if they're still giving up 27 a game, then he becomes an issue for me.
Fair enough. I hear you. Again, I'm gonna let it play out a little bit too. They got some things that they got to clean up. They got to find a way to get this pass rush home a little bit, Ken. Yeah. They got to whether it's if you're going to have to scheme it up a little bit differently, and if you're going to have to do some different things philosophically, but you're going to have to find a way to get some pressure and get a quarterback off of his and out of his comfort level. Going to have to make him get out of that pocket, and guys throwing on the run more, because that hasn't been there look, the first week nobody does that to Patrick Mahomes. You don't. He's going to usually have the upper hand in any type of situation he confronts with NFL defenses. But we're gonna stay on that, because I think it's a necessity. If the Browns are going to be what everybody wants them to be this year, an 11-12 win football team and get the playoffs, then you're gonna have to find a way to start getting some heat on and hitting opposition quarterbacks.
That's the key for that back end of this defense, which has a lot of new faces in different places, and is considered the weakness of this football team, Reg, right? Offense, we expected them to score. Offensive line, wide receivers, quarterback, running backs, all good. Tight ends had 11 catches today, right? Yeah. So that's all good on the offensive side. Defensive line, okay, did a nice job against the run, but need to see more against the pass with the rush there. And then that secondary and linebacking core need to step it up and play better.
Hey, real quick, they got Rashard Higgins came out of mothballs today.
How about that?
You got a couple of targets today, but Kenny still, though, again, as you say that today, how about this, of Mayfield's 21 throws, let's see, 5, 9, 11, 13 of them went to tight ends.
How about that?
13 of them went to the tight ends. There wasn't much from the receiving core today after Jarvis Landry, the wide receiving core, after Jarvis Landry went down. So we'll see how that develops too here in the next few weeks.
And we'll see if OBJ is ready to go in week number 3, as he did not go this week, and they put that to bed early in the week on Wednesday. So there was no asking questions and distractions throughout the week leading up to the game. So maybe they'll tell us early in the week next week if he's going to play or not in the home game against the Chicago Bears. All right, Reg, we'll get a break in right now. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this edition of the Reghi and Roda podcast with our thoughts on the Browns through the first 2 weeks of the season. That's when we return to the R&R podcast.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene and, when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome back to the R&R podcast, again brought to you by Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Thanks to Northfield for jumping on board with the Reghi and Roda podcast. And Michael, Brownies, 2 games in the books, 1-1. That's what I had them after the first 2 games. I thought they'd lose at KC. I thought they'd blow out the Texans. They did not, but they still got the win today, 31-21. So they're 1-1 going into a home game next week against the Chicago Bears. So we don't want to overreact because it's only 2 games, but what have you seen that has caught your eye either positively or negatively through the first 2 games with the Browns?
Some of the same things we talked about here during the course of this show tonight, Kenny. You know how the Browns want to butter their bread, so I'm very pleased with the way that they have not had any issues or not had any fall off with their capabilities of being able to run the football. And that, as we know, is their main offensive weaponry. Now, has the passing game been as clean and as formidable as, you would have liked in terms of bottom line production? No, but Mayfield has thrown well in terms of efficiency and his quarterback accuracy. But Kenny, I just don't think without Odell Beckham Jr. and maybe now without Jarvis Landry, I really don't think we can expect a lot of big explosion pass plays from the Browns in terms of, big plays that either result in touchdowns or stretch the football field. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of that this year. So for that reason, you want Baker Mayfield to be able to continue to be accurate, to take his shots when necessary. But again, I think put this offense in position to do what they want to do. And that is to be able to, when they need to bring that run game out, man, that's how you take over the football game. On the defensive side, Ken, we talked about it. I thought there'd be some issues. I thought this wasn't going to come out, and especially when you got to start against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. And it wasn't terrible last week. Right. But again, this is what Mahomes will do to you. You're not going to just shut him down in that Kansas City offense. So can they continue to improve and find ways that guys, Kenny, because this is not would you call this a big star-studded defense? They're not. No,
absolutely not.
You've got guys that, are just solid NFL pros, and you're going to ask them when situations and moments get tight that they got to show why they're in the National Football League. They can make some plays. But these guys are not household names now that everybody around the NFL knows. I don't think there's a defensive coordinator. I don't even think with offensive coordinator, that's saying, well, we can't. We're going to keep the football away from Denzel Ward. We can't. No. It's, anything on this defense, the Browns defense, it is centered around trying to find a way that Myles Garrett doesn't destruct you. But pretty much other than that, Kenny, I think, it's not a defense. It's got a lot of household names that people are real scared of now. So how well can they play collectively? I believe it's going to continue to show that while there may be times of strife, they're going to be good enough to not get exposed, whereas they get you behind by 17, 21, 24 points in the first half of football games. That's what they've got to, that unit to me has got to find a way to continue to do what is the expected of them. Keep them in the football game. Don't make a lot of mistakes. Don't become a penalty-filled defense that helps an offense that way. So, again, there may be some moments this year that make you say, "Wow, it's they're not real great," but we knew that's what they are. Nobody thought they were to begin with.
All right, I just did some quick numbers, Reg, and I want to get your input on this. All right, Nick Chubb has touched the ball in 2 games, 26 times for 178 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 6.8 yards per carry, Reg.
Yep.
All right. Is 26 runs or 13 a game enough for Nick Chubb, in your opinion? I know they have a dynamic duo and everything, but is 13 touches a game enough for Nick Chubb in this offense?
I'd like to see a minimum of 18 every week.
Okay.
18. And if some weeks it might be 22, 23 when he, in concert with that offensive line, got it going. But I think 13 is too low. You're not taking advantage. And that's not trying to disparage or take anything away from Kareem Hunt.
Right.
So how many touches for Hunt in the first 2 weeks?
Well, let's see here. I'm
11
Kareem,
today.
He had 11 today and 6 last week. So he's had 17 touches running for Hunt, 26 for Chubb.
That's 43 carries from Felton got, but again, we'll just stay with those two. Between the two of them. So that's 21 and a half per game, the 43 carries, right?
Yeah. I need more than that.
I'd like to see that up into the 27, 28, even over at 30 or over. So again, remember, assuming you're going to be in that 60 usually, 60, maybe 65 plays, right? Well, again, I want at least, I don't want the Browns to get away from those two guys because I just don't think that's the greatest recipe to win, Ken. That's the bottom line for me. I need to have those two guys together in that maybe at over 30 to be sure and maybe into 35 each week.
All right, so I'm trying to get inside the mind of last year's NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski here. 17 games, not 16 games this year, right, Reg?
Right.
You're expecting to be in the playoffs this year. So 17, let's say you're hoping to play 3 or 4 more games. Let's say 21 is the number you're shooting for if you're Kevin Stefanski. Is he limiting the touches? Is he using a pitch count to save these guys for later in the season when he can? Like today, they needed to rely on the running game in the second half, and they went to it, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that's factoring into his play calling and total touches for Chubb per game and Hunt per game, what I just laid out?
Yeah, 2 possibilities there. That, as you said, and also trying to get Baker and that pass game and the offense, give them maybe more opportunity here in the early go to see if they can really start to build chemistry and get it rolling, quarterback, receivers, in the pass game as well, where that they feel like, hey, now we got this thing where in totality, this is where we want this offense, where if, again, we can maybe take a Sunday where we don't have to overwork Chubb and Hunt. Although, again, to me, there's only 17 of them, so I'm not going away too much from those two guys in that run game. But, yes, to answer your question, I think to see if Mayfield can get real comfortable early in the year and, as you said, maybe keep their wear and tear down a little bit right now.
All right, here's the other number I'm looking at here. Let me see if my calculator will actually work here. All right, there we go. Baker Mayfield completing 82% of his passes through the first 2 games, Reg. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, has 514 yards passing. So that tells me that Baker is trying to do what he did last year, where efficiency means more than big plays, total yards. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that, okay, Landry was in there, OBJ wasn't. Now it may be the other way around. And maybe we're going to see more of that until they are fully whole with Landry and OBJ on the field, where maybe they'll open it up a little bit more and take some shots down the field. And that percentage will come down, but the big plays in the passing game might go up. Do you see it that way, or am I overanalyzing it? Give me your thoughts on that.
Now, I'm assuming when Beckham comes back?
Yes, OBJ, yeah.
Because, yes, his receiver skill set and, how he plays the game and what you do are more conducive to opening up things, looking to put the attack with the football, drive the football down the field, have routes that take longer to develop with him in particular running them. I think that's part of the reason they drafted the kid, Kenny Anthony Schwartz, who's got, he's got that top level NFL receiver speed. Other than Beckham, the rest of the Browns receivers, that's not their best attribute, just that flat line 4.4. That's not what they do. So, I think that when Beckham comes back, sure, you're going to see some of the playbook look a little bit differently. But until then, I don't want to say limited, but you're just not going to see the football being driven down the field and looking to take advantage to get guys over the top. They tried it with, it worked with a couple of plays with the kid with Schwartz last week in KC. Well, nothing today. Nothing with that. So, and again, he's a rookie. It's going to be hit and miss. So,
yeah, longest pass play today, Reg, was 33 yards to Felton, and that was a 1-yard pass from Mayfield to Felton, and then he ran 32 yards from the line of scrimmage, basically, into the end zone. So nothing really that much downfield. Harrison Bryant, I think, had a long one of about 29, 30 yards somewhere in that vicinity.
He did, yeah.
So, the tight end, hey, I have no problem. Tom Brady's made a career throwing to tight ends, right?
Yes.
And taking what the defense gives you, and you win games. Bottom line, most important stat, forget that Baker's 40 of 49, 514 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks, and he's 82% completion percentage. Hey, they got to win today. They're 1-1. They're 500. That's the most important stat. And if Baker focuses on that as opposed to, comparing himself to Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson because their contracts and everything. No, just win games. You win games, Baker. The Browns brass will take care of you with that contract.
That's going to get him his money. You win football games and put this team in position to play for something real in January and February. He'll get paid. He'll get his money.
All right. What about the 4 turnovers through 2 games? Where's your level of concern with, let's see, the pick today, which wasn't Baker's fault. That was Anthony Schwartz's fault.
It was.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, good hit on him. He coughs it up.
Yep.
Chubb last week coughed it up.
Yep.
Baker with the pick late in the game. And I count the drop punt by, so really 5 turnovers by Jamie Gillen last week. So 5 turnovers in the first. That
was a bad one.
So where's your level of concern with basically 5 turnovers through the first 2 games?
Just when you say the number itself, now you don't want to say we're going to turn the football over 5 times every 2 football games, but I have to look at the individuality of those particular plays. I'm not worried about Nick Chubb putting the football on the ground, Ken. He never done that in his life. Never. So I'm not worried about that. Again, maybe he wasn't quite as secure with it last week in Kansas City as he knows he needs to be. Again, the Mayfield, the pick today. Well, the kid's going to have to learn. If you want to be on the football field, you got to finish your routes. Because a quarterback can't be wasting that 1/10 of a second to think about whether you're going to complete the route or not, young Anthony Schwartz. So let's go. I mean, you got to get that figured out. And, again, Donovan Peoples-Jones has not been a guy that's put the football on the ground in his college career or last year either. So to me, I'm going to say, sure, you'd like to see that if he could, withstand that hit he took today. But again, I mean, it was a hell of a good hit. The guy went after the football and knocked it out. So I'm not concerned. No.
All right, let me flip it then. If you're not concerned about giving it away 4 or 5 times, however you want to look at it, are you concerned that the defense is only taking it away twice? So they're a -2 technically through the first 2 games.
I'd like that to where you feel good that your football team can come up with a takeaway when necessary. And no, so to answer your question, I don't feel good about that's what type of defense that the Browns have. No. And it's going to be something, I think, though, Kenny, though, that plays into that and is why, to me, again, it's going to be more and more important that consistent heat is put on quarterbacks through a pass rush. And sometimes, if you gotta send 5 or 6, then that's what you're going to have to do, because you can't go through football games without putting pressure on quarterbacks and expect there to be, we're going to come up with a large amount of takeaways, this week, and help augment the offense in creating field position and what have you. I'd like to see that improve for the Browns. Yeah.
All right, so there it is, the Reghi and Roda recap of Week 2. Cleveland Browns 31, Houston Texans 21. Browns now 1-1 on the year. Coming up later this week, Wednesday, you'll be able to catch another R&R podcast, Reg, as we'll look at their opponent, the Browns' next opponent. That would be the Bears. We'll dive into some college football with the Buckeyes now 2-1. After barely getting by Tulsa, even though the score doesn't indicate it, and the rest of college football and whatever else pops up between now and that next podcast that'll be released on Wednesday. Reg, always a pleasure, my friend.
You got it, Kenny.
We'll talk to you again midweek.
I look forward to it.
Until then, everybody out there, follow us on Twitter at Reghi and Roda. And look for our podcast wherever podcasts are stored, wherever you can listen to them, wherever you can find them. We're there with the Reghi and Roda podcast, courtesy of the Press Play Podcast Network.